I've thought about this for a lot too. When it comes to intervention, the least intervention is the best. Prevention, then, prevention, then intervention, or prevention before intervention. When we intervene with things, it messes up not just what we directly affect, but multiple downstream effects. We see this in the environment, we see this in the human body. Any complex system, when we try to intervene in it, there's a whole cascade of symptoms. Like a whole a myriad symptoms appears in the human body, in the ecosystem, in the economy, any sort of complex system. Which is why the least intervention is the best intervention. If you're, for example, if you're dying, right? If you're dying and you need open heart surgery, right? You need some sort of crazy surgery, then yes, right? Otherwise you're gonna die, right? But if you don't need it, most likely you don't want to do it, right? Because there's huge side effects. This is the case with anything that's bad. For example, like if you're taking invasive species out of an ecosystem, if you're trying to kill bacteria, pathogenic bacteria, if you're trying to take out a terrorist or a dictator, right? Any intervention, any geopolitical intervention, any human body intervention, any ecosystem intervention, they're all the same. You want to do the least intervention for the most for the most effect, right? Most bang for buck, which is why a lot of the times when you take out one dictator, several more pop up, right? When you take out one terrorist, 10 more pop up because you're causing collateral damage, right? You become the very thing you swore to destroy, right? There's huge unintended consequences. Right? All these systems are super complex, right? It's very complex, which is why there's so many. We can't predict it. So with anything, you do want to instead of taking things out, instead of like actively harming them, it's better to take things out passively. For example, instead of for your body, for your health, right? Instead of let's say, for example, instead of if you have diabetes, right? Instead of taking um, oh my God, I'm blanking. Instead of taking the medicine that helps you with diabetes, you can instead just take out carbs, right? Eating sugar, right? That would help with your diabetes. A lot of people, not everyone, but if you're type 2 diabetes or even pre-diabetes, and if you're young, especially if you're young, you can reverse diabetes. It's the same with any disease. It's the same with any disease. It's the same with any ecosystem process. It's the same with any geopolitical tension. What we think, like when we do a direct action intervention, we think it'll help, but it actually causes more harm than good. Okay, so then what's the principle here? We want to make sure first we identify the root cause, right? We identify what's actually the problem, right? To make the correct diagnosis. Then second, once we make the correct diagnosis, we want to go with the least intervention possible and slowly ramp up, right? If it's a life-threatening situation, right? Ecosystem, geopolitically, bodily, right? If it's a life-threatening situation, if it threatens the system as a whole, then of course you need heavier intervention. But you want to start off with a light dose first, right? So that you can see what sort of side effects you'd have. I mean, that's called titration, I believe, in medicine. Or there's probably a word for it geopolitically, but I'm not sure. First, do no harm. Then you can actually help the person. Because complex systems, they're hard to intervene in, but conversely, they're also hard to, they're very resilient, right? So they're hard to mess up, right? They self-correct on their own, usually. So you want to go with least intervention, uh, and you want to do it passively too, right? Instead of doing huge major interventions, you want to do smaller, lighter. You want to remove things rather than add something to kill something, right? So instead of like using pesticide to kill weeds or invasive species, if it's possible to remove what's allowing them to propagate, maybe maybe they only propagate during certain seasons, or maybe they only propagate during certain climates, right? Or certain temperatures, right? If you remove that, of course you're going to get other side effects, but generally that's a good way to deal with things, just removing things instead of adding. But then, of course, then you need an exit plan, right? Once you take out the dictator, right? Once you take out the invasive species, once you take out the pathogenic bacteria, then what are you going to do, right? With a dictator, if you take out a dictator, you need an exit plan, right? You need to set up a government quick, right? Set up a stable government really quick before the power vacuum gets filled. For invasive species, you want to plant native plants or something else, right? That would help protect the soil. For the body, you want to put in a healthy, research-backed probiotics and other stuff too, right? Other stuff too that helps your body heal from antibiotics, right? You always need to have an exit plan, right? If you need to take the intervention, then you need something to heal from that intervention as well. It's really interesting seeing how everything, like all these things connect together, right? It's like the same sort of like systems thinking, right? Geopolitics, economy, um, environment, ecology, your body, everything is like the same sort of like complex system.